let's push them. We've got the lawsuits filed. It's taken a couple of years, but I mean, one lawsuit after another lawsuit. What was it? Last week I talked to Attorney General Paxton. We've got over 20 lawsuits pending, and those don't go through as soon as you file them. So I realize people are upset. I'm upset. But let's not forget, we're not a separate nation yet. Kind of wish we were.
Power, whether red or blue, they could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.
Well, hello, fellow Texians. It is me, Daniel Miller, and it's time for a late night coffee talk. And as you can see from how I am attired, I am still working. so tonight, our late night coffee talk tonight is really pretty much on brand at this point, right? Work, 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 take a break, decompress in the middle of the week, and then get right back at it. So, look, I've got a lot going on tonight, but more importantly, tonight is going to be focused on your questions because it was pointed out to me, Kara is always and forever your advocate. She reminded me that last couple of weeks have been chock full of lots of information, lots of video clips, things of that nature, and I have run out of time every single one over the last, I guess, probably 2 or 3 weeks without being able to get to any of your questions in a really substantive and meaningful way, which is, remember, that's exactly why this thing fired up in the first place. I started doing coffee talk all those many months ago was so that we can have a conversation. So tonight I've got a couple of things I want to talk about right up front, some great news and, a couple of announcements, not anything super earth shattering or major, some kudos I want to send out. But then it's going to be all your questions. So here's what you need to do right now. You got to get in the queue in a hurry. And what you do is, if you're watching this on either my YouTube channel or the TNM's YouTube channel, type your questions in chat. And Kara's over there. She's monitoring. She'll throw them over into a place where I can read them and go through them. And of course, if you're watching on either of the YouTube channels, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single solitary time we post a video. And on the TNM's YouTube channel, Super Chat is active, right? So if you'd like to make a contribution via Super Chat, that goes right to the TNM, and the organization is very appreciative of your contributions. Man, we got big things that are happening, and it's, unfortunately, everything costs. So, we're not a bunch of Bernie Sanders supporters over here. We don't mind paying for things. So, whatever you can do to help is much appreciated. Additionally, if you're watching on any of the Facebook pages that we're broadcasting on tonight, be sure to like and comment and share. That's like, comment, and share. Help us defeat the algorithm. Retweet if you're on Twitter. If you're on any of those other things, Twitch, whatever it is, do the things that are required over there. Now, additionally, tonight, we have added and are testing out a brand new live streaming channel right on Telegram, right? So for those of you that are Telegram users and you are a member of the Telegram group called Daniel Miller's True Texians, that is where we're testing it out now. You will see the link at the top when you're in the group for joining the video chat. I don't know why they call it that, but that's what they call it. So we are there tonight. And if you want to know how to access that, here, let me actually do this for you. If you go to my webpage at danielomiller.com, you'll see the social media links up here in the upper right-hand corner. And, hit that Telegram link. It'll take you over there. It's an invitation to join the Telegram group. And, we'd love to have you over there. Stay on topic, stay on task, and no problemo, right? But while I'm at it, let me go ahead and show you the first thing, too. Since I'm over here at the website, I'll give you a little sneak peek. Some of you already saw it if you're in the TNM members group on Facebook or in that Telegram group. By popular request, we have added these mugs, right? You guys wanted, and I don't know why people are so enamored with some of the things that I say. I mean, they're just me-isms or Texanisms or things that I've heard or said, my entire life, even from the time I was a kid. But we've taken all of those things, all of your greatest hits that you said you wanted emblazoned on something, and they're there. It's unfiltered, right? Like this one here. It says, and some of you heard some of this on the campaign trail, where I actually said this: when the legislature is in session, you'd better be as nervous as a chihuahua crap in a peach pit. Why that was a hit, I have no idea. But that's there. So head over to danielomiller.com and click on the merch link up here in the menu, and you can see all those things and strike your fancy. That's great, right? So new merch, right? I think there's like a dozen different options over there now, all things, and these are seriously by popular request. I would never have thought to put this stuff, what I say on anything, but you guys wanted it, so you got it. Bada boom, bada bing. Enjoy. I guess razz your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, whatever it is. None of the things on there will get you fired from your job unless you're, being hired by somebody else that doesn't really think right. So just be prepared. Okay, so something else that has been just I think has been phenomenal, and that is we have had a recent dearth of brand new local groups, and let me just show you what this map looks like. These are groups formed right now, and a lot of brand new local coordinators, including our first ever. I will zoom in on this map to show you our first ever local coordinator in El Paso. So listen up, all you folks in El Paso. If and there are a chunk of you, I know, because I get to see all the wonderful data that we have. But if you're in El Paso, you now have a local coordinator, and you can go to this page and definitely get your fix. Find your closest local group. And again, if you don't have one in your neck of the woods, either there or forming, right? Go down to the link and help us organize one in your area. We've talked about this over the last several weeks, and you guys have responded in a big way. If you want to find out where that is, you can head over to tnm.me/local groups to find your local group. And if you are interested in organizing a local group, just head over to tnm.me/local and fill it out, right? So great ways for you to get involved and find your group, join it. Even if there's not a local coordinator there yet, and you can be a help, but you can't be a local coordinator, just go over there and join the group, right? If we get enough of you guys together, we'll make absolutely sure we get you spun up. So phenomenal things that are happening from an organizational level that are going to have to, after we talked about all of the things that we're going to have to do to get out there and to take Texas back, to put Texas first, to do all those things. I have to admit that you guys have all stepped up in a very big way. Now, there are some negative Nancy's out there, right? And I get it. I'm upset. I've said that time and time again, but here's the deal. We don't curl up in a ball and suck our thumb. We're Texans. We put our backs into it and we get the job done. So get the job done. And, I don't want to hear any of this surrender business. Jeez Louise. That's some transplant talk is what that is. Unbelievable. But the bottom line is we are doing this. It is happening right now, and you need to plug in and make it happen. You got to help make it happen, right? So that being said, been an interesting week. Lots of media interviews since we last spoke. Many of you saw, I think, the YouTube videos where I was actually on Real America's Voice twice in the last week. Once with Steve Gruber, and once again on the water cooler. And oddly enough, the water cooler one is the one that has gotten oddly the most attention. And something that was said in that interview that I said wound up jamming it on a coffee mug. Right. So it's available over there. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the interview for you while we check the questions. I want you to see it and understand what we're going to be talking about, a little bit about the Abbott border plan and a little kind of update on that. And then we'll get to answering your questions.
Welcome back to the water cooler, everybody. I assume it's pretty easy for the liberals to be so happy-go-lucky regarding the illegal immigrants when they're not the ones who have to deal with the consequences. The American Immigration Council reported that, quote, in 2018, 4.9 million immigrants, foreign-born individuals, comprised 17% of the population. The question is, what can southern states do about it? Do they just sit back and let liberals and illegal immigrants ruin their state? Well, the answer is the same today as it was 12 years ago. Obviously, no. The left needs to learn that the South is not a dumping ground for their bad decisions. Back in 2010, the Texas National Movement started to offer free bus fare for illegal aliens all the way to Washington, D.C. And it was a good enough idea that just last week, Texas Governor Greg Abbott decided to steal it years later, saying this.
To help local officials whose communities are being overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden administration, Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C. We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border.
And joining me now is the man who came up with the idea originally, Daniel Miller, president of the Texas National Movement. Daniel, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, the Texas National Movement offered to send illegal immigrants from Texas to D.C. back in 2010. Did you guys actually get make any headway on that originally, or was it just kind of an unanswered call?
Yeah, we had more donors lined up than we had takers for the bus tickets. But it was, for us, it was to really prove a point, which is, we have for decades had our border and immigration policy dictated by people that don't have to deal with the consequences, namely those people in the House of Reprehensibles up there in Washington District of Criminals. So, the bottom line for us at the time was, look, we will privately fund this and we will show you exactly what's happening. Now, 12 years later, Greg Abbott has mined out an old idea of ours and is now going to spend taxpayer money to basically give these guys tour buses to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but to your point, it's using taxpayer money. Hopefully this will make the left think differently, but do you think the point will be proved at all? I mean, I'm curious, do you think this will actually work? Because something tells me the left doesn't care too much about how much they're spending because they're all elites, so they're all rich anyways.
Well, look, 12 years ago, the idea was great for an organization like ours to do, right? We're not spending taxpayer money. We were lining up donors to take care of the issue. But let's be clear. It is not fine for Greg Abbott to do this. Instead of announcing that he was going to be busing illegal aliens to Washington, D.C., he should have got up at his press conference and invoked his rights under Article 1, Section 10 to declare this an invasion. Then invoked his rights under the Texas Constitution and under Article 4, Section 7 to be the commander-in-chief and repel the invasion. When you have the full resources of the Texas Military Department at your disposal, putting them on buses is kind of like having an astronaut diaper when you have stomach trouble, right? Instead of addressing the stomach issue, you're just trying to catch the mess. What we need a governor here in Texas who will do his constitutional duty to protect the citizens of Texas and our border with Mexico, regardless of what the federal government says.
Yeah, and I think at this point, a lot of Democrats, if there are any down in Texas, are kind of upset with the way Abbott's handled this. I mean, at this point, it's hard to ignore how bad it really has gotten, especially when you have people like Carrie Lake, who are running for governor in Arizona, that have already called for what you just mentioned, an invasion at the border. It kind of makes him not look so great, especially, just how bad things are going to get with Title 42 being lifted. I mean, what's the take on how he's doing there in Texas generally?
Well, look, I mean, we just came out of the Republican primary and he had a massive number of votes. But when it comes to the border, Texans are sick and tired of being strung along every election cycle. We have to remember that these politicians and Greg Abbott in particular loves to talk about what a wonderful job he's done on the border. But if in his tenure he had actually done something to deal with this border issue, we wouldn't have to have a press conference where he's talking about vehicle inspections, buses to Washington, D.C., and more deployment on the river. In fact, all he has to do is declare it an invasion. And in fact, it is. If you look at the numbers, understand that on June 6, 1944, the Allied troops landed 165,000 troops on the beaches of Normandy. right? We're going to have that many illegal aliens cross over from Mexico this month alone. And with Title 42 removed and the glut already lining up to storm the border, that number is set to double or triple. So it is when you have the cartels, these armed narco-terrorist criminal gangs that are effectively in control of the border, it is an invasion. All the governor has to do is have the backbone to stand up and declare it as such, and deploy the full strength of the Texas Military Department. This is something that we have actually been proposing since 2012. So there you go, Greg. There's another one of our ideas that you can steal, and we would be happy if you did it.
Well, you know what? It is interesting, though, because why hasn't he done that for so long? Why has it even taken him this long to even look at your idea from 2010? But also, to your point, this has been, not just this issue right now. This has been building up for a long time. Even under Trump, we had issues with immigration. I mean, this is not a new problem. Why hasn't Greg Abbott been active in the past on this issue? What's preventing him from declaring an invasion, do you think?
Lack of will. We lovingly refer to him often as Governor Windsock because he loves to stick his finger in the air to see which way the wind's blowing. Well, the wind has been blowing this way, but he's torn between what the voters of Texas want and what big money donors want and his presidential aspirations. So he's trying to ride in the middle of the road. And the last time I checked, the only thing in the middle of the road were yellow lines and dead armadillos. So the bottom line here is that the only thing preventing Greg Abbott from doing exactly as I just proposed is Greg Abbott.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, because at this point, particularly on the border issue, there's not a lot of people who are, to be won over as far as the border goes. I mean, you have more liberal counties that were in favor of Beto in 2018, but it wasn't really better work. I meant to say, not Beto, beta male, basically. But it's interesting because that doesn't seem to be a great attack point right now for Republicans. I mean, there's nobody who's needs to be won over in the middle. It's pretty much, you're either for border security, you should be declaring an invasion, or you're not. So it just seems, and it's not like the left is going to wake up and love Greg Abbott. So I'm not exactly sure who he's trying to win over.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But look, it's very clear the Rio Grande Valley is going red, right? It is becoming more Republican by the moment. And their number one issue is the same number one issue that Texas voters have had in all polls for the last 15 years. And that's immigration and the border. And obviously, you have people, primarily Hispanics down in the Rio Grande Valley, that are abandoning the Democratic Party. They are joining the Republican Party with an expectation that something will be done about this. However, the Republican Party is failing to deliver, particularly here in Texas. What we get is a lot of photo opportunities, a lot of platitudes, a lot of half measures, but not the actions that need to be taken that will actually secure the border. And I will tell you, the patience of the people of Texas are running out, both for the federal government and for these do-nothing politicians in Austin who love to ride out a problem so they can send out fundraising emails during an election cycle.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the case. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate you being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Ooh, sometimes you got to call them like you see them, right? That was fun. But anyway, this is... this has been so far, about a week of Greg Abbott's plan. They've officially bussed about 30 illegal aliens to Washington, D.C. out of those 900 some odd buses that NIM kids said that they had. Because, Abbott came out and said it was voluntary. And we still don't have a declaration that it is an invasion. We still don't have a full deployment of the Texas Military Department, specifically the Texas State Guard. We don't have any movement toward full militarization of the Texas State Guard. And therefore, we're going to continue to have a border problem. Now, here is the ray of hope. Greg Abbott is slow. Okay, I mean he can do it. He might do it, but he is super slow. Let's just be clear. 2 of the 3 proposals he had, one he stole from us, one he stole from Don Huffines, right? And the third one is sort of maybe could happen perhaps if Greg Abbott will stop chickening out and do what he did. Because remember, he used extraordinary executive authority to tell you that you couldn't go to work, go to church, your kids couldn't go to school, your businesses couldn't open, you had to wear a diaper on your face, right? He used extraordinary executive authority to do that. And we're not even saying use extraordinary executive authority. We're saying, how about doing your constitutionally mandated duty? I mean, we're not saying go out on a limb here. We're saying do what you're supposed to do. Do the right thing. So the jury's out. We'll continue to see what happens. My understanding is that there are more actions to come, but we'll see. I have to say that given Greg Abbott's past performance on these issues, I do not hold out a tremendous amount of hope that he will ultimately do the right thing. I mean, in fact, he is one of the chief opponents of giving each and every one of us a vote on Texas in accordance with Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. Even back when he was Attorney General, he stymied our efforts, right? So, I'm not going to say I'm a pessimist where he's concerned because I understand what motivates him. It just means that he has to be properly motivated, which is exactly why we are doing the things that we are doing right now, right? If you go back a couple of weeks on Coffee Talk, I laid out how much progress we have made. I laid it out. I did a Zoom meeting with pretty much everyone at the time that is, in our field team, our volunteers, our district directors, our local coordinators, and explained where we are going from here, right? And the fact of the matter is that we are engaging in a massive, massive undertaking. But the fact of the matter is there is no organization in Texas more properly suited to tackle the thing that we're going to tackle. So it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, all I can tell you is buckle your seatbelts because it's happening, right? So announcements are going to be coming. Opportunities are going to be coming. I mean, they're already happening, right? If you go watch the site, if you've heard from your local coordinators, I've even said it. It's one of the reasons I've been imploring you to join your local groups, to volunteer to organize a local group, to get involved with our election integrity task force or whatever your skills are, to get in the game. Because what's coming and what's happening right now are going to be absolutely earth-shattering. This is, and I used the analogy before, the last mile of the marathon is always the hardest, right? The last mile of the marathon is always the hardest. And my friends, we're in the last mile of the marathon. We are so stinking close to getting the things that we want. It's ridiculous. Now, expect them to fight much, much harder, right? We're already seeing it. Don't be surprised when they fight back, right? When they have weird things happen during the elections, right? Or come out and say really horrible and hideous things or get real tough. Like some of you guys saw at those party conventions a few weeks back, right? Where they get up and they say horrible things. They accuse us of treason. They did, all these things. Expect it, right? You have to expect that they're going to fight back because there's no way that they want to lose the ground that they have gained. And I'm going to tell you, these guys are back on their heels. I know it feels like that somehow they're lording it over us, but here is your surefire sign that they are losing right now. It's that they no longer hide their misdeeds. It's that they no longer hide the disdain that they have for the people of Texas. They have given up all pretense of incrementalism. And they are going for the gusto. And what that tells you is they are rocking back on their heels, man. They are drowning and they are flailing about. They don't care about style, right? They don't care how it looks anymore. They just flail about trying to do anything they can to stop the big mo, the big momentum. And so this is where we're at. So double down, double your efforts. I said it before, get mad, get in the game, get serious, right? So now is the time to get this stuff done. And I'm going to tell you, our leadership team in the TNM is working harder than they have ever worked before. And I'm going to tell you what, they are more excited than they have ever been before. And I know there's a lot of new ones in there, but you know they're getting their feet wet, but they're coming in and they're all happy warriors because we want to win. We don't want to lose, and we want to do this now. You know, I saw some chatter before I get to the questions. I saw some chatter in one of the groups today, and people are like, "Hey, what are we going to do? We're running out of time." I've been here. We're running out of time for 25 years, right? But what I've always said, and I recall I spoke at an event on the south steps of the Capitol, and I had somebody come up to me and they want to talk about what I said and everything else, and they said, "Hey, when is this going to happen? When are we going to get this done? How long is this going to take?" And my response, because, you know, it's like the question put to me, like I'm responsible solely for getting it done. My response to them was, well, it's going to take however long you let it take. Right? I mean, that's it. Together we grow. Together we win. Together we achieve Texas independence. But we all have to do our part. And so the question is, how long are you going to let it take? You know, is the minutes you're trading for whatever it is you're doing worth being that much less close to Texas independence? This is why I sleep, eat, breathe this stuff. I wake up in the morning remembering what blew my butt out of the box that got me to cross that proverbial line in the sand on August 24th, 1996. And it burns me up every day. And yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on, right? I told you guys, I don't work for the organization. I have to go out and earn a living just like everybody else, but I seem to get it done. And a lot of it is probably because I drink an awful lot of coffee. It is coffee talk, right? Unreal. All right. That being said, I played a video right before we started. During the coffee talk last week, one of the chatters reminded us that, or brought it to our attention that a WBAP radio host up there in the Dallas area, one of the talk show hosts, had come out and effectively said, "Hey, I'm ready for Texas to be its own country, right? I'm ready for Texas to be its own self-governing independent nation." Well, as soon as it was over, and I said, "Hey, we need somebody to get that to us," I got inundated, right? Kent Davis, several people, by the way, thank you, Kent, but several people were able to find it, send me timestamps and everything else. And so I'm going to play this really quickly, just so you can see it if you didn't see it when right before we started. And then after that, I am going to your questions. So don't go anywhere. And there's still time to submit your questions, by the way, on the YouTube channel. Put it in either of the YouTube channels, put it in chat. Drop your question in the Facebook comments on the Facebook pages, right? And we will get to it there. So check this out, and I'll be right back with answers to your questions.
Let's push them. We got the lawsuits filed. It's taken a couple of years, but I mean, one lawsuit after another lawsuit. What was it? Last week I talked to Attorney General Paxton. We've got over 20 lawsuits pending, and those don't go through as soon as you file them. So I realize people are upset. I'm upset, but let's not forget, we're not a separate nation yet. Kind of wish we were.
And of course, that's great. We got that video's on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out. And anytime you come across that, where you have folks that either you capture them with your cell phone video, or they make some pronouncement that's recorded, like we did with the Ted Cruz thing or Senator Lois Kolkhorst, we need that, right? So if you come across those things, whether you hear them on the radio, see them on TV, whatever it is, be sure to let us know. Those things are more helpful than you can possibly imagine. All right. So let's get down to it, right? We got questions. You guys are sending it in. Let me get over here really quickly and we'll start taking it. Let's do this. Boom. All right. I am now here. So let's get down to it. First and foremost, this is not less of a question, more of a comment. Yeah, and get your questions in if you got them. This one, I'm glad that Mr. Miller does this. It kind of reboots my week for Texas independence. Look, man, if that's the only thing that happens with this, then mission accomplished, right? Mission accomplished. And so I'm glad that you appreciate doing this. It really helps me too. One of the reasons I started doing this way back when was because I needed to decompress, need to hang out with our people. You know, so much of what has been going on, you know, I don't get to hang out with everybody. If I can do it virtually, that's fine too. So thank you, and thank you for tuning in, and be sure to share. Right, share. Introduce more people to what we're doing. Okay, let's do this one. Yona says, why are you tired? Do I look tired? I don't feel tired. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that question's referencing, other than the fact that you know, I don't sleep very much for obvious reasons. But I'm not tired. I just drink a lot of coffee. But you may be referencing, actually, odd thing. I talked to Stephen Axelman with Americans United for Peaceful Separation today. It's kind of a clearinghouse and an umbrella for independence organizations like ours. And I mentioned to you guys that they had asked me to be co-chair of that organization so that we can continue our mission of spreading self-determination and connecting with other independence movements. So I talked to him today, and he asked if I was sick. Like, no, he says, you sound congested. It's like, dude, it's allergy season in Texas, right? I mean, you're lucky I'm not bedridden over this. So I'm keeping the Sudafed sellers in business. But thank you for your concern, Yona. Okay, so here's a good one, and I don't necessarily have an answer for this. Joe Richardson, JD, man, I love you to death, buddy. He says, how many counties adopted the resolution for a vote on Texas? I don't have the full count here in front of me, but if you will reach out on the TNM website, just go to the contact form, drop it in there. We'll make sure that somebody gets that piece of information to you. But it was a chunk. I mean, it's enough that it's gonna definitely be one of the hot topics at the resolution committee. You know, at that upcoming state convention. Which, by the way, we were supposed to have a booth. We put in a interest form for a booth. We've been there twice before and have heard absolutely nothing. So I don't know. I know sometimes John and Teresa watch, but either way, John Beckmeyer, if you have any way that we can figure this out so we can get a booth, would love to hear from you. You got the digits, sir, and I do appreciate you. Okay. So, David, this is what David says. David says there was discussion recently on the petition. I like the quotes. I have my understanding, but can you put that to rest as to the current strategy of the organization? I am not sure really what the context of that question is. But you know, we talked about it many weeks ago. The official petition window has closed for that. But I also mentioned that there is something that is potentially related to petitioning, not the petition, but petitioning, that may be getting ready to roll out to the local groups. So that's a conversation that we will have very soon. There's some decisions that need to be made up at the executive level, some strategic decisions. We got to get some clearance from legal on some things and get some questions answered. But it is going to be, if we can launch it, it's going to be a wonderful thing for local groups to be involved in, which is, yet again, one of the reasons we're encouraging people to not only start local groups, but to join and volunteer, get in the game. And I know, David, I do believe you're one of our new local coordinators. So let me just welcome you right here on the live stream, welcome you to the team. Be sure, I mean, look, man, let's go out there, let's win this thing. And thank you so much for stepping up to lead in your area. All right. So moving right along. Hey, get your questions in, right? Get your questions in because I'm blowing through these, man. I mean, you guys are hitting me with some softballs tonight. So get your questions in the YouTube chat, on the Facebook page, comments. I don't think we see Twitter. Anyway, those two places. Allergy season. Did I mention that? Okay. Interesting question. This one's lengthy. Alexander Craig says, how can we capitalize on the chaos created by the current state of the U.S.? Thanks to the current administration in D.C., this seems like a gift for the movement. They can't keep any of these promises. Well, Alexander, I will tell you that they've never been able to keep any of their promises. Right? Oddly enough, I had an interview with a professor from a university in London. Gosh, was that yesterday? What's today? Wednesday. So it might have been Monday. It was Monday or yesterday. I can't remember. But she is a professor of geography at this, and they're doing this kind of this book / study about the meaning of freedom. And so she reached out. She wanted to. It was yesterday. Thank you, Kara's got. See, she knows my days and nights run together. So, but this professor, they're doing this study, basically an examination of perceptions and perspectives on freedom and what it means to various people throughout the states that are in the United States. And of course, she had come to Texas and found out about us, but unfortunately had to go back. We couldn't connect while she was here. She called, and we had about an hour and a half interview yesterday, specifically for the book, and we talked about, strangely enough, this particular issue about how there is no spirit of repeal or reform, right? Because the question often comes, well, what would Washington, D.C. have to do to make you guys happy, right? It's always some sort of form of that question. And the answer is, well, number one, there's nothing they can do short of say, cool, go be independent, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore, right? Then I can go about the rest of my life. But what they're really asking about is, what sort of reforms could take place that would placate everyone. And the fact of the matter is that regardless of what has happened, it's not just this administration, right? It's not just the next previous or the next previous. This is a pattern of, look, let's just use Thomas Jefferson's words. We're here at the point discussing Texas independence because of a long train of abuses and usurpations, right? When we talk about a long train of abuses and usurpations, you have to remember, when I crossed the line in the sand, August 24th, 1996, right? You're going to hear that date a lot because I say it to remind me more than anybody else the commitment that I made that day, right? But when I crossed that line in the sand, think about how the situation was then, right? We had, you go on and you start looking at out of control Department of Justice, the ATF burning the Davidians to death. You talked about, a skyrocketing national debt. That was a drop in the bucket compared to what it is now, right? We talked about, we were talking about the abuses of the IRS, political prosecutions and persecutions. We talked about, there a lot of these things was the nexus. You get into the Clinton administration and the passage of the Omnibus Anti-Terrorism Act, which became the precursor to the Patriot Act, which basically let the NSA give everybody a colonoscopy without their permission, right? So those things all were happening then, and they've only gotten worse. So there's no rolling this thing back, right? They're on a trajectory right now, and it goes one of two ways for us. Just like I said out there, and I think we put it on one of the mugs. which is if you don't fight for Texas nationalism, you are going to get globalism. And if you don't know what globalism is, it is a defined thing. There is a video literally on the YouTube channel. I think it's on the TNM's YouTube channel where you go watch it. And it talks about all these people that dump on the fact that we call ourselves Texas nationalists, right? And we talk about nationalism. And what it does is that video properly defines those things, not the pejorative nonsense that you hear from these neo-Marxists, right? It tells you what it is, textbook definition. And then what it does is it tells you the definition of globalism, because they have a definition of globalism. And it is an absolute worldview. And the sum of that worldview is subjugation, the elimination of nation states, and the subjugation of people who believe that rights are inherent and inalienable. So that's just kind of the end result of it. So that being said, how do we capitalize on the chaos? It's not a matter of capitalizing on the chaos. It's a matter of doing what we've been doing, which is reaching the people of Texas and getting them on board, right? Even today, I'm getting emails from people who say, I reached out to someone, they'd never heard of us. And, and I got them on. They're supporters. It's like, that's awesome. That's what we have to do. We have to do it by the tens and hundreds of thousands, right? One conversation multiplied times every single solitary person that's already a supporter doubles our numbers. And that's what has to happen. Our people are out there. And it's not been for lack of trying, right? I mean, I can't tell you how much money we've dumped on billboard campaigns and digital advertising and apps for that can host data so that we can reach voters, and peer-to-peer texting and phone banking and handouts and it's amazing, right? I know some of you out there probably think that this crap all comes free, right? We go out there to the Bernie tree in the backyard and pluck it off, no cost. All we got to do is occasionally go out there and make sure that the Bernie tree is watered, and we throw some pig crap on it, and things happen. But that's not the way it is at all. So this is what they're doing. Yeah, I agree. They're handing us a gift. They are not going to honor their commitments, because they haven't honored their commitments at least for the last 25 years that I've been doing this. I don't know that the federal government is capable of honoring a commitment. But isn't that why we want to be free of this, and why we better work our tails off and fight like we're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it's starting to rain, right? That's what we got to do. So we get it done. So anyway, Alexander, thank you for your question. That gave me an opportunity to really kind of dig down into that one. Okay, let's find another one here. Okay, here's a good one from Keith. Keith wants to know which parts of Texas have been the most difficult to communicate the TNM mission statement. Funny thing, on an individual level, we don't have a problem communicating the TNM mission to anyone, right? So here's I'll actually, this was sort of similar to the question that was asked in the interview yesterday. The question was asked in a different way about, is this primarily an urban or rural movement, or, they want to pigeonhole it, right? It is the age-old desire to pitch and cast the Texas Nationalist movement with some sort of demographic and political leaning, and just kind of really kind of pigeonhole it. And frankly, I say this a lot, the demographic profile of the Texas Nationalist movement is more representative of Texas as a whole than either major political party. Either major political party would kill to have the demographic breakdown of the organization across all features, whether that's issue affinities, whether it's partisan divides, whatever it is. Both of those political parties would kill to have it. Okay. But there's a real rational explanation for why that is. And that's that our message transcends all of those things that they typically use to divide us. And I gave the example that I talk about in the book about the issues, about the economic issues. Okay. So, good example. When I talk about, in the book, I'll get in trouble if I don't do that. There's the book. In the book, I talk about this phenomena of federal regulatory accumulation, right? Where the federal government has never met a regulation that they don't like. Okay. So what happens is they layer the regulations one upon the other. And there was a study done at a George Mason University about the effect of federal regulatory accumulation. And the conclusion they came to with running all the math was that it creates a 2% compression of GDP every year. Okay. And it's compounding, right? It's not like 2% and then it's just another 2%. It's 2% on top of 2% on top. So what the effect of that study was is they came out and they said, okay, look, if at the time the study was released, I think median household income was like 53,000, somewhere around there. And they said in the absence of federal regulatory accumulation, the median household income would be $330,000 a year. Okay. So what that means is Texit means a 600% pay bump because we don't have to deal with federal regulatory accumulation anymore. Okay. So $600 pay increase for everybody. Okay. That's a simplification, right? There's a lot of factors in that, but you get the gist of it. Now, the other thing that study concluded was two things. Number one, Texas is disproportionately affected by federal regulatory accumulation. Because of where the regulations fall on the Texas economy and how the composition of the Texas economy. But secondly, is that it was the poor and the working poor, in other words, those right at or below the poverty line, that are also disproportionately affected, right? So what that means is that Texit means, number one, all those federal regulations go away, and on average, everyone will get about a 600% pay bump. But the second thing that I think is important and really speaks to your question about being able to go to areas where and talk to people that maybe other movements or other political parties are not able to go to, is that we can go into these urban areas and we can talk about how the federal regulations have disproportionately affected them. It's stealing their ability to earn money, right? It's keeping them poor. It's keeping them in poverty or forcing people into poverty. But more importantly, it's destroyed the traditional bridge between poverty and prosperity, and that is entrepreneurship, because they have set the bar so high, the gap is too far for people to jump because of what the federal government has done. And so they have eliminated the ability, unless you can catch, they've knocked a lot of people out of the box for being entrepreneurs, right? Rather than making it easier for people to go out and create wealth and earn and do things that are productive, they've made it so hard that some people just can't get there, right? They just having a hard time getting there. And why would we make it any harder? Why in the world would we ever make it any harder for somebody to create and to earn? Why would we do that? Well, in Texas, we wouldn't do that. We've always had what is effectively a business-friendly economy. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of monkey see, monkey do going on in Austin right now, where they we have to regulate and license everything, right? So, I mean, they got regulations and so, again, they eye what's happening in Washington, D.C., and they say, well, we need to do that here. No, we don't. That's the last thing we need to do, right? We should be eliminating the barriers to entry for people to do these things. But to your point, that allows us to go in and have conversations in places where other people can't. So whether it's, sitting in a boardroom and talking to a CEO and a board of directors about how their corporation will benefit, or going down into the economically depressed areas of the inner city, our message carries. When we talk about Texit, we can talk about the effect that it has on the industrial workers or on the farms and the ranches. and how Texit means an improvement, right? Farmers and ranchers were a particular one that we talked about in that interview yesterday. Because when you look at the federal impact on farms and ranches that are weighting the system in the favor of massive corporate farms and putting the backbone of Texas agriculture out of business because they can't compete, right? That's one of the reasons you go into some of these rural towns, they look like almost ghost towns, right? But that comes from the federal government. It comes from the federal government. They're doing this, and they go out and they negotiate these treaties like, the USMCA, or as I call it, NAFTA 2.0, and they go out and do it. And they don't even give Texas farmers and ranchers a seat at the table. Instead, they negotiated for the large corporate farming conglomerates in the Midwest and leave our guys out to dry and leave us having to watch our rural communities dry up and watch the family farms get foreclosed on and watch our cattle ranchers get consumed by cartels that drive the prices up and drive the small operators out of business because the federal government has made it that way. So we can talk to any of them. I don't find it hard to talk to anybody about this. All you got to do is just talk, have the conversation. And what you will find more often than not is the agreement across these points. You just got to know. You got to know all of these. And I'm not telling you got to have a doctorate in Texit, right? But if you can understand all of these issues that are underpinning Texit and all the things that it solves, I'm telling you, you can talk to anybody. And when you start talking to people about this, you will begin to see anecdotally what we know for a fact, what the establishment knows for a fact, what the establishment knows and is the reason they fight so hard to prevent us from having a vote. And it's this: if we go to a vote tomorrow and we are able to make the case, we're able to just talk about these things as a people before we go into the polls, we win. And we don't win by a little, we win by a lot, which is why the establishment fights so hard to keep you from having a vote on this issue. Because we're going to go to the polls and we're going to smoke them. I mean, it's going to be like brisket barbecue on Sunday. We're going to smoke these guys so hard. Hey, so thanks for your question, Keith. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got here. Man, you guys have got some good ones. And where am I at on time? Okay, Yona, I see your second question about self-determination, but let's squeeze another one in here. Be sure to ask it because I have some definite thoughts. I did an interview with an Italian website last week. Maybe I did it before last week's coffee talk, but we actually talked about the impact of self-determination in the Ukraine-Russia discussion and what it sort of means for the larger thing and destroying the hypocrisy of the opposition. But save that. I want to talk about that. I just don't have time tonight. Okay. All right. Here's one. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. So Michael's talking about, oh man, I lost a question. I think I accidentally marked it as answered. I tell you what, let me do this before I get to this, Michael. Let me get to the other one. I do not know who submitted it, and my apologies because I clicked the wrong thing. But your question was, how does the TNM feel in general about people moving to Texas expressly for Texas? And I'll tell you this, we've seen a model of that happen in New Hampshire with the Free State Project, Jeremy Kauffman, Carla Garrick, Elliot Axelman's over there with Foundation for New Hampshire Independence. And that's one of the things they've encouraged people to do. They've encouraged people to go move there that are like-minded. Now here, people are already doing that, right? It's not that we have to encourage it, other than the fact that people are looking to Texas to be a safe haven, right? So it really kind of doubles our duty. So the people that are ingressing to Texas in migration are really split into kind of two categories. Number one are people that are being relocated by their corporations, by these major hires, but far outweighing that in migration are people that are effectively political, cultural, and economic refugees. And so I get the question. I've had it before. I've told you guys on Coffee Talk before how I handle it. At one particular rowdy meeting one time in Conroe, I think it was, I thought there was going to be a fist fight breakout because there were people that had moved there from places like Maryland and California and things like that. They were there to hear about Texas. They wanted to get involved. And people were disparaging them. And I had to step in and I said, look, here's what you need to understand. Travis, Bowie, Crockett, they none of them were native Texans. They came here from somewhere else. And if they were willing to give their lives for Texas independence, then who are we to set the bar any higher? Right. So my measure is not what you did before. It's what you're doing now that you are here. Right. Don't come here and vote like you did in that socialist cesspool that you just left from. Right. But if you're going to come here, double down, help us get independence. And I don't check somebody's birth certificate when they join the organization. When they volunteer, I don't check their birth certificate. I don't care where they were. What I check is, do they have a heart? Do they have the skills to help us accomplish the mission of the Texas Nationalist movement? Right? Because I will tell you, there's never been any test designed that can measure the heart of a person. It doesn't exist. But I will tell you, the thing that comes closest is how that person behaves in the face of the adversity of advancing the cause of Texas independence. That will tell you everything you need to know. So if you were here to help us achieve Texas independence and believe in the political, cultural, and economic independence of Texas and in a constitutional Republican form of government, the individual and inherent rights of the people of Texas, and you're willing to abide by and advance the principles of the TNM, come on, get her done. Let's make it happen. So I don't know who submitted that because, again, I accidentally clicked it. So I apologize for that. But you know who you are. So I'm glad I was able to do that. Okay, Michael, man, your question was too long to get on the screen. So let me get back to it. It says, one of the things that needs to be a top priority in the new republic is the establishment of an operational military force to include production and logistics. This is going to be essential, and there is no guarantee that the U.S. government will be willing to be friendly to military allies with the new republic. Sure, and actually something I cover and I talk about in the book about how close we are to doing that. You know, you go one of the things I heard one time, one of Napoleon Bonaparte's military maxims was that to build an army, you have to start with a core of competent officers, right? But we already have something beyond that. We have effectively a 3-branch military here in Texas called the Texas Military Department. And that whole thing is just, I covered in the book, and I would encourage you to head over to texitnow.org. That's texitnow.org and check that out if you haven't looked at that question and the issues surrounding it. There's plenty of information about it over there. Okay. I got time for, man. See, you can't come in at the last second and ask me, how will taxes work? What's the plan for, folks? Okay. So here's the deal. That's Bradley's question. Again, texitnow.org, or grab a copy of the book. That's covered in excruciating detail, especially on texitnow.org. In fact, I just got the 3-minute warning. So let me do the rapid fire. So let me do this. If you have any Texit questions, head over to texitnow.org. That is texitnow.org. Learn more about Texit. And when you're there, go ahead and get a copy of the book that I wrote that covers it and enjoy those details. And more than that, and this really gets to, I think, the final question I'm going to be able to handle tonight. And it's from Marilyn. Marilyn wants to know, how do I get started promoting TNM in my area? Marilyn, great question. I don't know what area you're in. So the advice that I give you is going to be very general, and it really would go to any supporter of the TNM, right? So your first point of attack is to go visit the website at tnm.me, right? That's tnm.me. and make sure that while you're over there, you register your support, right? If you haven't done it already, register your support. It gives you an account to the website. One of the things that happens when you get an account to the website is we give you all sorts of tools to digitally promote the TNM, right? Whether it's sharing articles, there's tons and tons of resources on that site. Dig around, it's there. But go to the outreach page. That's your first place. There's also, if you're more of an analog person, there are plenty of things. If you want to download information to hand out or connect with people, we have tutorials for that as well. Just go to tnm.me, go to the outreach section. Additionally, if you are in an area with a local group, I'm going to encourage you to head over and check it out right now and join a local group, right? Get plugged in with other TNMers in your area, and they will guide you along and help you to promote. It's everything's always fun with more than one person, right? So make sure you join a local group. And if there's not one of the things you can do to get more involved and help promote is you can organize one by going to tnm.me/local. As always, become a volunteer. Go to tnm.me/volunteer. All right. Well, folks, that is it. I am right down to the wire. A reminder, I am going to be back out on the road speaking starting, I think it's this next week. So head over to tnm.me/events or go to my website at danielomiller.com events. You can go to the event links. We got them posted everywhere, but go check it out. Go hit up a local meetup. That calendar is full of local meetings. Plus, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in Lago Vista and I think Cypress, and we've got a leadership training event that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. So definitely stay tuned. Let's connect. Come out. I want to shake your hand and thank you for supporting Texas independence. In the meantime, it is time to wrap this bad boy up. So let's pull the plug so I can get out of this coat and tie and do the non-properly attired work that I need to do. And so tonight I will leave you with the words I leave you with every week. Words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.
Well, the people in power, whether red or blue, could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? To save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.